will face this together. We will fight it together. As a family.
We will protect you.
Hello, welcome back to Capes and Phasers. I am Trev. I am joined today by Grey Gamer 25 as always, and Hans waved at the exact same time I said that, so that confuses everyone. No, he's Grey, the guy with the glasses, and the guy that doesn't make eye contact with his webcam is Hans, because if he does, everyone will fall in love with him, so he doesn't make eye contact with the camera.
That's right.
Okay.
It's mesmerizing.
Yes, it certainly is. So boys, we were here for a quick chat, a little opinion piece, a review, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to break down the whole bloody movie. Anyone can do that. Our little opinion on Fantastic Four. The three of us have seen this movie since it came out on opening weekend. And initially, I'm really going to quickly just say, pun intended, it was bloody fantastic. 9 out of 10 for me. I do want your boys' opinions. You can tell me what you liked, what you disliked about it. You can bitch and moan if you have any gripes or nitpicks. That is absolutely fine. And because Gray could probably talk for a while about what he likes or doesn't like, I'm going to let Mr. Hans jump in quick so he doesn't fall asleep. Mr. Hans, you've seen it. How did you find it?
I liked the movie. I was entertained. It was one of the better Marvel movies in years that I saw. I gotta be honest, I didn't see the TV series or not a lot of them. So I don't think there's any connective tissue anyway with this one. Which leads me to my best point. My girlfriend went to the movie, right? And she doesn't know anything about Marvel. And it used to be, in the beginning, like the first 2 or 3 phases, you could, watch any movie in the Marvel universe and you could follow the story.
Yeah.
And I got the same thing here. So it's a standalone thing, still in the bigger story, and it's a stepping point for everyone. Now, the movie itself, I liked it. There's a few nitpicks here and there that I got. Probably the same as you guys, like the Silver Surfer. I mean, she's a good actress. She did her best. Nothing wrong there, but just use the Silver Surfer. I mean, I didn't see any point in it to do it that way. I mean, no offense to the actress. I don't know her name. She did a fantastic job, so it's not a knock on her. I mean, Galactus, this is where me and Gray have a bit of a difference, I guess. Because Gray is more in the comics than I am. And for me, Galactus was way too small. So I was like, how is this a devourer of planets? Like, this is really small to devour a planet. So, but no, overall, I like the movie. Good action scenes, good humor, no problem with Pedro Pascal. So I think everything's fine.
Good.
What would you give it out of 10? Since Trev said 9 out of 10.
I would give it a solid 7.
Very hard to impress, Hans. It really is.
Yeah, so
Yes. No, that's fine, man.
it's better than Superman. I was more entertained than Superman.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I was looking forward to this way more than Superman, I must admit. I knew just for even weeks and months ago when I saw some trailers on it. We'll come back around, of course, and we'll break down certain kind of points or elements in it that we're intrigued by, or we liked or we hated. Like the nitpicks is absolutely fine. Great, but just kind of what Hans said there as well. You give me your kind of general impressions of the movie, and of course, a score out of 10.
My score out of 10 would be like 8 out of 10, which is kind of funny because he's 7, I'm 8, you're 9. I go way, way, way back with Fantastic Four because when I was a kid, I used to collect the comics, and I started collecting Fantastic Four around issue number 30 of the original run in the 60s. So that I wish I still had those books, but I did sell those books. I forgot what year, and I made a lot of money on them.
You sold them? What, like a newspaper?
Great.
A standout side, like $1 for $1, $1 for $1.
Oh no! I made plenty of money on. I could have made plenty more now, but I did keep 4 or 5 issues of the originals just to keep as my remembrance, and I kept a very good Doctor Doom story, so I do have those originals still, stashed away. But anyway, so I have a lot of history going back with the Fantastic Four, which makes it more appealing to me because I recognize all that stuff. And like I had mentioned before, maybe that Superman and Fantastic Four are probably my 2 top favorite superhero things, and then a few others fall, right underneath it. But I like the movie a lot. The only thing I could probably nitpick on a little bit was I would like to have seen them maybe use their powers a little bit more here and there.
Really?
Not that they didn't use them, and not that it wasn't cool. But like for instance, like the Thing, Ben, he had a couple scenes, but really he didn't show off his strength that much. But that's a real nitpick because to be honest with you, when I was watching it as an overall movie, I was very happy, and I really thought the idea of putting it back into the retro future, like 60s when they first came out, kind of was a brilliant move because that really made the movie totally different than anything else we've seen with Marvel. It really made sense to the whole movie. I got to give credit to the director, the writers, and everybody. They really pulled off some stuff. As far as the Silver Surfer, I was pleasantly surprised that she was better than I thought she was going to be. However, it should have been a male Silver Surfer because that's what the comic was. When Galactus was introduced, his herald was a male Silver Surfer.
But she
period.
does play a herald at one point, the female Silver Surfer, I believe.
Yeah, but that's in an alternate universe and stuff, and I get it. You know, they're all. This movie basically opens up in an alternate universe, an alternate Earth. It said Earth 682 or whatever the hell it was.
828.
828, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Jack Kirby's birthday or date or something like that, I believe. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do think that since you mentioned it, the real guts of the movie was I really did feel like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were there in a sense because it really conveyed the comic book to me a lot. And the other thing that a couple people have said as a bit of a knock against it was they're going like, yeah, but you can't do this because it doesn't make sense or it's not possible. And you can't do that because that's not possible. Okay, that's if you want to take it to the degree of The Expanse. Okay, so The Expanse is a film that really gets into the nitty gritty, tries to keep everything as realistic as possible and right within the realm of science. This is a comic book movie. So when I was reading these books and enjoying them, I wasn't sitting there questioning every little move of the book of what I was reading. All I know is what I was reading was great. It was fantastic. So I can't go along with that one. They don't have to explain every tiny little nuance, as long as they don't do something really stupid, well, and blatant. You don't have to explain everything.
Ray, speaking of which, they didn't. This wasn't an origin story, as we know. They do a quick kind of few minutes catch up with that English actor boy that's been in.
I actually like that. That was actually a nice intro.
Yeah, he's been in a few things. He's been in Sherlock Holmes in the UK, that UK series, and he's been in a few other things, Doctor Who and whatnot as well. I think his American accent's a bit iffy, but we're not looking for perfection in this movie. And he explains what's happened with these people that came back. They've had everything seems to be in force. 4 years later, and that seems to be the thing. Yeah, so that's what they do, and we don't want another origin movie because a lot of people know roughly what the origin is. So let's just scan on. It seems to be the thing, like you do it with Superman, you do it with the Batman. It's like a year 2 or 3 Batman or Superman, because everyone knows the origin story of these main characters anyway, and you just got on with it. So I do like that. I want to talk about Galactus a little bit, right? So I'm just going to come out and say he's the coolest bad guy I think I've ever seen in the whole of superhero movies. I mean, even more cooler than the purple nutsack chin himself, aka Thanos.
No comment.
who was cool? He was cool. He was bloody cool, and he was played by a brilliant actor. But this guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but I see the face. I'm sure he's played bad guy in Bond before.
Could be.
He had the voice for him, and he was absolutely brilliant. Oh my God! The first time you see him in the ship, and the eyes light up, and he talks. I used to be tiny like you, and I'm thinking, if you're the Fantastic Four, you've got size imposter syndrome right now. Like, come on, size isn't everything, Galactus. That's what Reed Richards should have said. He didn't. Missed one there.
Well,
I absolutely adore him, guys. I adore him that much. I've ordered 2 of the popcorn buckets that went on sale yesterday. For $80 each. Gray's been a good lad and let me send them to his house because it's US only. Little do I know that he's probably going to keep both of them, one for himself and sell the other one on eBay. I'm screwed. Boys, let's start with Hans first. Right, you said it's a nitpick for you. You thought it'd be bigger, but I came with a caveat that I said he can change his size. It's a well-known fact. And actually, when you see him in the ship, he's way bigger than when he is on the streets.
That's
So he
what I
changes
thought.
it.
Also, it's like when he came down, right? I was like, huh, he was a lot bigger, no? But you
Yeah.
told me then that he can change his appearance apparently or his size,
Yep.
which they don't really explain at all in the movie. So there's no way for me to
They
know
don't.
because
True.
I don't
Right.
know the comic book. So,
But they don't really need to. That's what I was saying. They don't have
like I
to.
said, it was a nitpick. That's all. Was like, this is the Devourer of Planets, and then you see buildings that are taller than the Devourer of Planets. Like, something's off here.
So the thing, Hans, right, is later on. There'll be some spoilers here, guys. I mean, it goes without saying it's a review, it's an
Yeah.
opinion piece. So yeah, you kind of know that anyway. But obviously later on, when they defeat him and they send him to the other side of the bloody universe, his ship is still up in space. So it wasn't like the last Fantastic Four movie where he was a bloody cloud and he ate
Yeah, he
planets.
was
That
a
was just
cloud, yeah.
weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
This
Didn't like that, so.
He is huge. He doesn't physically as such munch on the planets. His ship munches on the planets, and then he consumes it. You see him with the pipes going into his back, getting fused with the
Yeah.
energy of a planet. So he gets separated from his ship at the end of the movie. He can still feed on planets without it, but I've been told it takes a lot longer, and he'll be a lot more pissed off and hungry than usual. So he could
Yeah.
then probably make himself bigger than Hans and actually start physically munching on planets a little bit. So
I have
Um,
one follow-up question on this one, by the way.
yeah.
So, because we're talking about Galactus, without spoilers, right? Because we're trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, I guess. So,
We already
No.
blew it there.
no,
right,
it's a
okay,
spoiler.
so-
It's a
You all
spoiler
have-
review, man.
all right. So you have seen the mid-credit scene, right? So,
Yes.
well, what happens?
Yeah.
So, but I'm still confused how this movie, right, is supposed to set up Avengers Doomsday, right? Now I
Yeah.
know who was there in the mid-credit scene, so I know that it's Doctor Doom, or it's supposed to be Doctor Doom at least, right? But
Okay.
it's still a bit weird that this movie needs to set up the Avengers movie. Which, and
I-
last time I checked, we don't even have any Avengers at the moment.
I thought the same as you, mate, right? But I want Gray to confirm in a moment if I'm right or wrong, because I was thinking the same. I'm like, you see the end of Thunderbolts, the post-credit scene. Like, you see the Fantastic Four came to 616 universe. Like, what's going on? How did he get there? I thought they were going to defeat Galactus at the end, but right at the end, he comes back somehow, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, and then the planet goes, and they make an escape. End of movie. But no,
Yeah.
they kept it isolated and together because not everyone watches the post-credit scenes, right? So people
True.
have left and they've seen a self-isolated movie, which was great in its own right. They beat the bad guy. It's fantastic, pun intended. But the post-credit scene is of a young Franklin Richards with his hand on Doctor Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. That's probably not Robert Downey
No.
Jr. in that. It's
But it
someone
doesn't
else
matter,
just
it's
random.
Doom, right? So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Doctor Doom in there. His hands on
he
his
has
face.
mask, so.
Yes, in fact, my theory is he's healing his scar because Doctor Doom's got a messed up face, so he's healing his scar for one, and or reading his mind because he's very powerful, Franklin Richards. And my theory now is Doctor Doom will kidnap him, or actually, curveball, Franklin Richards will agree to go with him, and then the Fantastic Four chase him from one multiverse to another, and that's when you see the ship.
Well,
So basically, the end of the sorry, really, apologies, Greg, really quickly. So the start of Avengers Doomsday next year is going at the end of 2026 will be in Fantastic Four's universe. It'll pick up from there. Great, am I right? Am I wrong? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, they definitely are going to cross over to another universe
Yeah, they have
because
to.
They have to.
yeah. In fact, Doom being in the movie at the end already tells you he's already crossed over.
Is my theory
And-
right? No. That's their Doom. He's not crossed over. That's their Doom. Doom
No, I
will
don't
go
think
over
so.
with them.
I don't think
think
so.
it
I
is.
think
Yeah.
it's the Doom that we're all going to expect because in the comic books they go way beyond what the movie did. I mean, Franklin Richards and I don't actually particularly like a lot of it, to be honest.
Isn't he the
comic book.
most powerful superhero of them all? Like,
Yeah,
he's up
he's
there.
a mutant.
Yeah.
He's basically a mutant. But that whole thing in the comic book side of stuff, and I don't want to get too deep into it because we're talking about the movie. But on the comic book side, I didn't like a lot of that garbage that went on with Franklin Richards. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
I thought that was way too overboard.
I've
And
done this much better.
yeah, it's and the thing I thought about that was kind of a joke is that you have the Fantastic Four and whatever 828 you guys said, right?
Mhm.
So this is a cool universe that we all like because we like the movie, and now they're going to cross over to the crappy Marvel universe, and
Yeah.
they're going to get tainted. It's going to be suck. It's going to suck.
But do we
Yeah,
have
go
an
back.
Avengers team? Do we have one at the moment? Is there an Avengers
Yes,
team?
technically it's the Thunderbolts, but they're going to
Yeah.
be one of several teams. That's why
Yeah.
there's an asterisk at the end of Thunderbolts, and it's called the New Avengers because
Right.
they are the suckiest Avengers ever. So we
Yeah,
will get
thought so.
other
That-
ones.
That won't work.
And do you
You're
not
not going to
remember-
get any. You will not get any of the legacy heroes. It's, you know.
No, well, do you not remember at the end of Avengers though? There was copyrights between him and like Sam Wilson and whatnot between the term
could be.
Avengers. There was that joke
Oh
about
yeah.
copyright.
True. Yeah.
So
No, I get it.
no. You will get a couple of the legacy ones. Thor is going to be there. The rumor that he'll kill off Thor. You'll get, of course, not Captain America, the new Captain America. There's not going to be many, mate. There's maybe going to be a
Yeah.
couple in there, 2 or
Uh,
3.
Well, part of the reason there's not going to be is the fact that the stars that played a lot of those parts are kind of angry at Marvel right now.
yeah, true.
For getting screwed over on money, et cetera, et cetera. And even Downey found out, even though they made it up to him, but before he became Doom, ended up finding out that he got shafted too, money wise
How?
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's a long story, but if you go,
Didn't
if you
they
look
pay
through it,
him a ridiculous amount of money for this?
Yeah, he's been given $80 million for 2 movies. That is disgusting.
I know it's
Yeah,
pretty
so-
wild. Hey, I
Anyway,
don't
back
blame
to
you
the
for
movie,
making the money.
boys. Back to the
Yeah.
movie. What they done with Franklin Richards was great. I don't read comic books. I watch a
Mhm.
guy on YouTube called Emergency Awesomeness. Bookmark that, Hans, because he's a guy that he's like the super nerd. He explains everything to people that don't read comic books, and I watch him and he explains it all to me. And the guy
Nice.
is really, really successful and good, very knowledgeable, and he basically is telling you what's going on with this. It's Franklin Richard had some, I don't remember what it's called, some cosmic rod or something, like he gets his powers from. I forget the name of it. But
Yeah.
this way, the power cosmic is what glows in their eyes at the like in his eyes,
Yeah.
and his mother in Sue Storm's eyes and Galactus's eyes. That's the powers that he's got from his parents being superheroes to begin with, and going through a wormhole at the exact same time he was born, because otherwise he couldn't have had those supercharged powers. He would have had normal powers. My theory, again, just what I understand, he's been supercharged. He went through a black hole at the exact same time he was given birth. Plus, the Silver Surfer literally had part of her hand in her belly.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
True, that's
so
true. Yeah.
he's a supercharged baby, and he literally brought her back to life at the end. So he's going to be key. Let's not beat around the bush. He is key to this, and I think he volunteers to leave with Doom. They led on and said that they believed that this Doctor Doom is of their universe because they've fought him before along with other bad guys. That's what the Emergency Awesomeness guy said. And I think he goes and kidnaps the boy and buggers off to another multiverse.
I don't know if they're going to do this, but in the comics, there's a whole thing where Doctor Doom is actually Kang. He's one of the Kang
Gang, yeah. The gang variants.
Yeah, well, we know why we can't do that. We know why we can't do that angle. They
Yeah,
changed
that's
that.
the
didn't
whole
they?
story.
But Kang has multiple versions of himself across all the universes, and supposedly they did a thing in the comics. Well, not supposedly, they did do a thing in the comics where Doom was one of them. So yeah, it could be spanning quite a bunch of stuff, but we'll see. When you mentioned about whatever you read or you listened to, did they actually say the word cosmic rod?
No, it's cosmic something. It's some kind of rod. It's some kind of really powerful rod.
I'll tell you why. Because nobody's going to know this except me if you read the books. But originally, when Sue Storm was pregnant with Franklin, right? Reed Richards figured out that when she gives birth, she's going to die, and the kid's going to die too. And the only way to get around it was to go into the negative zone, which you don't hear about because the negative zone was fabulous. And nobody knew what the hell a negative zone was until Kirby and Lee introduced it. So they had to go into the negative zone basically to get a cosmic rod from an enemy or the leader or the entity that operates the negative zone, Anelius. And to get him with something was really a difficult thing to do. Anyway, so they did get this cosmic rod thing, and Reed Richards had to use it in order for his son to be born
That's it.
without dying, without Sue dying. So it's very interesting that they're kind of touching on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So he was
Well,
directly influenced by the
that
power of cosmic.
this is why I prefer this is why, boys, you've got to change some things for the small screen and the big
Yeah,
screen
of
from
course,
a book,
of course.
and I'm glad they
Yeah.
changed this to get a little nifty little gun thing or rod thing to give him powers. Now I'm sorry, that's a bit ridiculous, and that should be in a comic book. But for the big screen, it made sense that his parents are superpowers. He has that in his DNA. Plus, he went through a wormhole at the exact same time he was born. He has literally got the power cosmic in him. So has Galactus. And the whole thing with Galactus wants this baby. And Emergency Awesomeness keeps doing a link between Fat Bastard from Austin Powers. He wants to eat that baby. So I found that amusing. He wants to basically, the only person that can take over from him, Hans, because the thing is, he used to be a normal person. He's from a previous universe. He predates the Big Bang, Hans, and he's been going about for so long. He's got this hunger in him all the time. That's why he has to eat.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
whole
Basically,
origin of him.
the
it's
Yeah,
comics
they
crazy.
didn't explain that yet. So
the comics basically are that at the end of his life, or not towards the end of his life, Franklin Richards kind of, I don't know, crosses over with him, like joins with Galactus, and he takes over from him so he can survive the next Big Bang. And this is kind of what's happening here. He's like, you're the only person that can take my hunger away, this little baby. So he wasn't going to eat him per se.
yeah.
Don't know what was going to happen there. So, boys, I'm conscious of the time as well. What did you make of the actors that played the kind of the various roles? Were you happy with them in general, or
Yeah.
or do you
No
think they could have
problems,
changed any?
Yeah, no, I think
No problems here.
I think the chemistry between the four of them was excellent. It really did seem like what I felt when I read the comic books. So I think they really hit a nice, whether it's planned that way or by luck, whatever you want to call it. I was a little afraid of Pedro Pascal because he's been so overused in the
He's in everything.
But then when I saw when I saw him, I was going like, well, all right, he was a good Reed Richards. I mean, I could have thought about somebody else to play the part, but he was good.
He looks like him a little bit, and he acts like him in terms of like the awkward kind of person that Reed Richards is, you know. So Sue Storm was great. I think they were all, and the whole thing with Johnny Storm. I don't know if in the comics, Greg, he's always trying to hit on female aliens. But the whole angle in this was amusing because he was like, hot space chick, man, and I'm getting absolutely nowhere. He had a cute role in this movie, by the way.
Naked space chick. He said it literally in the movie.
Well, she's not really. She's got something.
No, but that's what he said, so...
Yeah, naked space chick, yeah.
The way Johnny was from back in the 60s was, he was more of a hitting on chicks all the time kind of thing, or the jet setter, blah, blah, blah. But the interesting thing that I really liked about his character in this movie is they kind of developed him as he was developed across the decades in the comic books, because he never really moved away from that, whatever, liking women and dating, blah, blah, blah. But he was always not treated as being not stupid, but not really all that smart either. And yet in the later comics, he showed that he has some smarts, not like Reed Richards, and so in this movie, they actually treat him properly, and he does figure out the whole thing with the language thing on his own. And he even said, I don't remember whether it was Sue or whatever, said, maybe we should be giving this to Reed to look at. He says, he's got enough problems. I can work on this, and just trust me. And he actually did it. And I thought that was excellent. He could still be himself, more or less, like we've heard or read about him in the comic books and stuff like I did, and still be a better person at the same time, which is like, which a lot of movies fall flat on these days, So I really appreciated how they handled all that.
Do you like the angle they done when obviously they went to space? Is they doing this and they've got a whole light drive device, which I found interesting. I thought it was maybe a bit over the top in terms of power ranking, but I got over it within seconds and I enjoyed it for what it was.
That's the comic book part. You just go with it.
the whole thing with these suits have got to adapt to them. So these suits are like state of the art science, materials, polymers and whatnot. And I was like, Johnny needs oxygen, because obviously when he goes after the Silver Stuff for the first time, he's more or less flaming out to grab her, and then she just flicks him off like a bit of dirt in the shoe, you know. And then obviously later on at Galactus' ship, he only gets 10 minutes of oxygen in his suit extra before he basically consumes it all, because like Reed's built that into him, so he's kind of running out this whole time. I like that little touch.
Yeah.
Like that's something a bit believable, so that it's not completely batshit crazy, you know.
No, it was
And
fine. I mean,
it was a really good way to handle it, because in the comic books they just kind of said, well, the suit is
Screw it.
made out of molecular da 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 da, and he could flame on that, no problem.
You need oxygen, still physics.
yep.
You know,
fire
so-
otherwise.
No fire otherwise, exactly. So
One quick question for Gray.
Mhm.
So the second end credit scene,
Mhm.
did you see it?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Fantastic Four, so what did you think of it? Because I have a friend who's a big fan of Fantastic Four, and he was like, "Whoa, they did it!" So it's like, okay,
Well,
I was like,
recall me again so I can remember.
that's
'cause
it's the animated TV show at the
yeah,
very
the
end, isn't
animated
it?
TV show intro, I think it was, but with the new characters and.
I wasn't a fan. You don't need to see that. That's the
Well, there
first
was
credit
two-
scene's more important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was two animated shows with the Fantastic Four. One was the original way back, I think in the late '60s or early '70s, something like that, which actually was pretty good. Then they did the new one where they introduced Herbie. See, Herbie was put into the new.
How cool is Herbie? Forgot to talk about him.
Well, but here's the thing: when they did the second version of the animated Fantastic Four, the Human Torch was not in it. Herbie took his place, and why was that? Because there was a lawsuit going on between DC and Marvel on the Human Torch. Because there was a character that was like the Human Torch, but not the Human Torch. It's a long story. And so to avoid, that problem, they decided, well, we're just going to get rid of the torch for now. And this goes back to the Golden Age, the characters. So
Yeah.
they had to avoid the problem, and they stuck Herbie in there, which was horrible. Herbie was awful in the second.
You can buy
animated
him
series.
from the AMC website and the popcorn bucket if you're quick. Herbie's
And-
and he's cheaper
Yeah.
as well.
In this
Popcorn.
movie, he
Yay.
was perfect. He was what he was, and he
But-
filled the part.
They basically put tapes in him to actually change his programming somewhat. So basically, he's trying to, like, as Galactus comes in and shrinks himself down to look through the window, his big eyeball at little Franklin Richards. You can just hear Herbie in computerized tone going, "Uh-oh," and then puts the shutters down and puts the lid over the little baby container thing. I'm like, that's not going to stop him.
Yeah, it was
There,
like,
there was
Herbie's
one thing
cool.
that, speaking of that, there was one thing I thought was handled well in the movie when they swap the baby out and put the fake baby or whatever. I'm sitting there going like, no, that's a little too easy. And sure enough, Galactus goes, oh no.
And what's it he said? He actually stopped her when he was about to
He
step
said,
in the teleport,
yeah.
and he went, "Clever little bugs."
Yeah, clever little bugs
He
or
was
whatever.
brought,
Yeah.
and then when he got hold of Franklin Richards later, not Franklin Reed Richards, and starts
He starts
stretching him,
stretching him like
and
a
he's
baby.
smiling, he's
like a
playing
doll.
with him, like
Yeah.
stretching him, like, what the hell? Are you going to snap the
yeah,
guy?
I was
That
like,
was brilliant.
It was
Well,
If he
like-
kept going, he would have. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
to be fair, we could just snap them like a twig. So, but yeah,
He really could have. Like, listen, these
Yeah.
guys are not supposed to be able to easily beat Galactus. Galactus is ancient, and I love.
Yeah.
They've just done such a good job of him. He looks accurate, comic book accurate. He's purple, but the most important thing is they're Marvel's first family, and the character development of these guys was brilliant. You felt like they were a family. They were there for each other. They warmed your heart. You loved every one of them.
Mhm.
And that's key. That's really important in a movie like this. So I look forward to seeing them again at the end of next year in Avengers. That's going to be absolutely batshit crazy, boys, that movie. But yeah.
And
Unless there's
supposedly, if you want to believe the
There you
rumors,
go.
the rumors are is that Reed Richards is going to lead the Avengers.
I think he should. I think
Maybe.
he should. He's
Depending
the
on the
smartest
team.
one.
Yeah, depending on
Well-
the team, of course. But
Yeah, but yeah. Listen, boys, we'll probably wrap it up there. Don't want to make it super long. We will, if there's any other cool comic book superhero type movies and stuff, we'll come back and we'll review them because we enjoy talking about them. But yeah, until the next time, thank you, Hans, for jumping on, mate. You're an hour ahead of
No
us,
problem.
so I appreciate that. And Gray, thank you again. We've done a double bill after Star Trek stuff, so yeah. Until the next time, boys, say goodbye and talk to you soon. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.